Okay.
You,
And
we can hear you perfectly.
there it is. You see them?
No,
You see? You
Not
see?
yet.
we see
I,
you.
I don't see the screen share button this time.
It should be a green arrow at the
I
bottom of the
know, but
screen.
it's not there. But my first image popped up.
I think you need to go back to your Zoom video.
Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay. How many times have I done this? Okay. So now I can go to my desktop and well, I'm not finding it at all. Oh, there. Do you see them now?
Yes, I see
Hey,
it says
Glenn.
greatest hits.
Okay. I hope we can edit these recordings, and I've probably done this 50 times now, and it keeps getting worse. But this is Glenn Gould, whom I introduced you to at the beginning, and got to hear a snippet of his music. And he, as I said in my email, he was really, I don't know how to explain this really, but it's common that visual artists can be very inspired by music, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't explain how it works, but whenever I've listened to his, especially the first recording that he ever made, and some other great recordings as well, it just images go through my head. So he in particular and other musicians as well have played a big part in my development as a painter. Now, other painters will say it's literature, that they read novels and poetry, and that inspires them. Um, and I guess it could be anything really, but I wanted to call this greatest hits because it's the end of the year, and they used to. I don't know if anyone even listens to the radio anymore, but you may remember on New Year's Eve they'd have a countdown to the number one hit of the year.
Oh, yeah, Casey Kasem.
Yeah, right. Who said that?
Mindy.
Oh yeah, of course. All
I'm
right.
old. I know what you're talking about.
And so that's what I was kind of thinking here. We're at the end of the year. It'll be our last art night in. And I wanted to show you some of paintings that have been important to me and influential. So of course, a big one for me and so many painters has been Vermeer. And I wanted to show this one to start because it's the view of Delft, of course. And it's just it leaves me speechless to this day. It just has a ethereal. It's a very realistic painting, but of course they didn't even have photography then. And I hear that I have seen it, but I didn't notice this at the time. But if you zoom in really close, you can see how he painted the wetness on the sidewalks, for instance.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Charles, there are so few Vermeer paintings. And
yeah.
of course, he can't have started his first picture, one of his masterpieces. Did he destroy his earlier works or does someone else have them?
Yeah, well, no, that's a good question because we know of I think 32 paintings and they all look like mature works.
Right.
So, and there are no drawings. So, we don't know I don't know if he studied with anyone either. That we have no record of that. And he's kind of a mystery. And they're very, and what I like about them most is not the realism and the light. It's this uncanny sense of modern 20th century form that I can't explain it, but it may have had to do with the use of the camera obscura and how he flattens space into a pattern, while at the same time making it very realistic and atmospheric. So I want to show you another Vermeer that was so I studied these, like I looked at them until it seemed like my eyes were burning a hole in the book they were in. A lot. I look at them a lot. And this, of course, was one of them. And they apparently took it off the, it's being photographed against a board of some kind, all right? And you may have read or noticed that Cupid on the painting in the wall behind him that was just discovered a few years ago when they cleaned the painting.
Oh, wow.
And if you go back and look at the photographs of it from before, there was like a map on the wall, I believe. So they made the decision to go
Maria
back.
Lords, plus 507.
Okay. So I wanted also, well, I chose this one to show because you see her reflection in the window pane.
Yes.
Mhm.
So I got a good high res close up of it. And in so many ways, you could read his paintings as an abstract painting, can't you?
Mhm.
And it's very, he wasn't he knew enough not to make the reflection look just like her in real life. It's very muted and transparent feeling. And again, I keep showing everyone here these paintings that have alternate views in them through windows or reflections. Here's a window, and then the window pane has a reflection, and then there's a picture within the picture on the wall. These are very simple things, and you can do them very easily in your own work to create a richer conceptual space. It's not hard. It's not like trying to capture Niagara Falls or something. I'm just talking about, just I hope sometime this term, I'll see someone do a painting with a window and a view out the window. Then we can talk about things. We can go from there. Okay, so Vermeer, and then my favorite painting of all time, again, one that I studied intently for a long, long time in grad school, is Las Meninas by Velázquez. Just a great, great painting. Generally, many people consider it the greatest painting of all time. It's in the Prado in Madrid. I've never seen it in real life, but it's big, really, really big. I think you've probably read about it. But not only he's painting, you can see him on the left, right? On the left, holding the paintbrush, leaning back from the painting. So we're looking at the painting itself, which is one view, and then he's working on a painting, which is another view, but he leans back and he looks at what?
Us.
Yeah, you would think so, but right in the very back of the painting, there's a mirror. We'll see that with two people in it. It's the King and Queen of Spain.
Oh,
So he's painting their portrait. He painted them many times. He was the court painter. So he does a really interesting thing conceptually. He suggests, the way he sets it all up, he suggests, because he's looking out what appears to be at us, he's associating us with royalty. You get that? Get why? Okay. And there's more. It's a great painting to study just as a painting and for its meaning.
Charles?
Yeah.
When I was in Europe last fall, I got to see this picture.
Oh, yeah?
And I knew that you had talked about it before, but people they revere this picture. This is like at the Prado, it's the greatest. There are more pictures by him, but he just did so much in this painting to get the viewer involved with the painting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very sophisticated on every level. And I want to show you another one. Do you see the little girl? It's the Princess Isabella. And you see that the flower bouquet that she has wearing on her dress on her chest? It looks pretty realistic, doesn't it? Would you say? But if you look at a detail of it, this is how it's painted. It looks like an abstract painting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it looks like it's done freely and quickly.
Yes, he was just masterful with the brush.
I always wondered, Charles, this Isabella, is this like Ferdinand and Isabella, the people who sent Columbus to discover America? I couldn't find that out in Spain.
Oh, later, I don't know if it's the same Isabella. That's a good question.
No, it is not.
No,
Okay.
because yeah, I think when was this painting done? Do you remember?
This is mid 17th century. Ferdinand and Isabella were late
1400,
16th.
yeah, 1400.
Yeah, well, the painting was 1656, so it was coming a lot later.
Couple hundred years off.
Okay, so then do we assume that he was actually looking at Isabella when he painted it?
It's well, they had their they named a lot of people the same names is one thing, and another is they got painted repeatedly, so they would have all these people would have posed at least for drawings. And I don't think we have any surviving drawings from Velázquez. And he wouldn't have got everyone together to pose all at once either. That would, I couldn't even do that with like my two kids, let alone the whole Spanish court and the dog.
Mm.
And even if he got them to pose, Charles, look at the interesting ways that they're moving. It'd be
Yeah,
hard to hold those poses.
yeah, and intricate, very intricate composition. Okay, and that, and then the great painting of Rembrandt, the Night Watch, and again, it's one that I've studied a lot of stories about it. You never know if it's apocryphal or not, but you know, they didn't like it, and then people say, well, that wasn't really true, and it's just a beautifully rich, complex, moving painting.
There's
So
a
anyway,
there's an excellent documentary about this painting. It's called J'accuse in French, and it's a study about the whole composition and history of the painting. It's fantastic. The hidden meanings and the people that are portrayed in the painting. Documentary is J'accuse, Rembrandt J'accuse, something like that.
Rembrandt, how can you spell the second word?
It's
please?
J apostrophe ACUSSE.
Okay.
Charles,
That's
do you know, is this in Amsterdam?
I
Yeah.
think so, yeah. I've never seen it in real life.
Because there's a museum in Amsterdam, and the picture I saw, I thought it was this one, but I don't know, because the people I was with, after 30 minutes, they were tired of being in the museum and they wanted to leave. And so I was just heartbroken.
I
But
know.
the picture that I saw was gigantic. Just, it's not like a little tiny thing.
It's a big painting. I don't know the dimensions, but it's quite big. And another interesting little tidbit about Rembrandt, I read it a long time ago, but apparently he never went more than a few miles from his hometown where he was born, which is very interesting. Many painters around Europe would make it was like a trip to Italy to paint the Italian landscape. They called it something, Campagnolo, I believe. But I read that he never went anywhere. Okay.
I think he was so well known, people came to him.
Yeah. But another thing about this I want you to observe is in the upper right-hand corner, they're all holding these spears, right? I think they're spears. You see the tall poles?
Yes.
Yeah.
How they're kind of crisscrossing, but it's not random. There's kind of an order to them. Well, we're gonna jump back in time to 1432 in this painting by Paolo Uccello, The Battle of San Romano. Look at the poles. Isn't there a similarity?
Yes.
Now, he never traveled, so he wouldn't have seen the painting. I took a really great Italian art history class, Italian Renaissance history class at Iowa. And we looked at this painting, it seemed like for months, and studied it in more detail than you ever would think possible. But it did strike me, now, you know, if you have an army, they have really tall poles, spears. What else are you going to do with them? So maybe it's entirely coincidental, especially since this painting was 200 years earlier. However, there's another point about this painting in particular that we studied, and that is, you'll notice on the right, there's a red horse, and he's kicking his back legs up at us. And what was important about that is the use of perspective by Uccello. Because linear perspective, in this case foreshortening, was really not used in art like it came to be after the Renaissance. This is still pretty early in the Renaissance, so it's a pretty early example of the use of foreshortening in realistic painting.
Can I add something about this?
Yeah.
So I think this is the one in the National Gallery in London. There's 3 paintings of this battle. It was a famous battle, and the one in the National Gallery in London, they just restored it a few years ago, and they restored it first time in the 60s. And recently they realized that what they did in the 60s were very muted colors, when in fact, originally this would have been very strident. Uccello applied gold foil and silver foil, and it was really bling, very flashy, discotheque kind of a painting for that era. So originally the colors were really bright and very vibrant. You got purples and pinks and bright reds.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that about this, but we do know that the ancient Greeks and Romans painted their white marble statues and the buildings. The Acropolis is painted what appear to be really gaudy colors.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know, Charles, the red horse, now that you said that about perspective, I can see it, but real horses don't kick their hind feet that exactly. There's usually one up a little bit or drawn in a little bit. Even when they jump, they're not exactly that perfect. But now that you say perspective, I admire him for trying to do that.
Yeah. Okay, moving along, jumping ahead to Seurat. And you know, Seurat was the famous pointillist, kind of in the Impressionist group, and he drew, what we really love to look at were his drawings. So he drew with Conte on laid paper. And laid paper means it has this kind of weave. You can see it, right? And the only place you don't is where she's wearing that thing on her behind, that bow. I don't know how they would sit down with that, but you can see that there, and on the back of her hair, he pressed really, really hard, right? Only in those places, though. And there's no physical blending like we often do with our finger or blending stomp. And I decided, I have Conte. I'm gonna in class, I'm gonna be doing some of this on laid paper. He used a certain kind of paper that was very, very expensive. I think it was called Martel. It's no longer made, although there are kinds of paper close to it. And I love Seurat's drawings.
Don't you think he blended it somehow, though?
It doesn't look like it, and I read that he didn't. He didn't physically blend it, but he layered it with the Conte itself.
Oh.
Once you blend it, it changes, it reflects light differently, and it's always noticeable, unless you go over it, I guess. But yeah, I could look at these endlessly. So this is another great painting of one of my favorite artists, whom I've mentioned, Bonnard. The French painter, this is from 1913. This is in the Minneapolis Museum of Art, which I have seen. And we talked about Bonnard a lot at Iowa. You know, I went to CMU as an undergraduate up in Mount Pleasant. And I think the only one that we ever talked about was Jackson Pollock. I didn't got out of there and I didn't know who Bonnard was. And now, however, he's just a great painting, known as a great colorist. And again, we have a view out a window with a woman leaning in. We have an open door showing us a view through it. And we have a table setting and a little cat on the chair as well.
Charles, is this a typical Bonnard?
You know, I wouldn't say it's typical because it's so big, and most of his paintings were smaller, but it is typical in terms of the interest in color and light and the kind of more relaxed. His drawings are, I think, incredible, but it's more of a relaxed style of drawing compared to some that we've looked at so far. So it's not entirely typical. And another one that I didn't know anything about Voulard, but he was sort of, I believe, I don't think they knew each other, but a contemporary. And this is post-impressionism, so they were influenced a lot by what the Impressionists did, but they sought a kind of intimacy in the domestic scenes, in the light, and in the color. And to me, it's mystical and magical.
I think it's a fantastic painting.
Yeah, yeah,
There's a harmony in yellows.
yeah. It's definitely in the color, like you said.
And the golden glow of the windows, that's very warm.
Yeah. And look at the radical cropping. We've talked a little bit about cropping. We're going to talk more about it. But he crops off the woman. He doesn't have to sit her down in a chair and tell her to pose and hold still while he paints her. She's just walking into the scene. And then on the other side, there's a chair that's cropped also. It's a little bit awkward, but awkwardness in a way that suits the painting, the candidness of the painting. And this is a painter that I was greatly influenced by. And there's some issues with him now, but the painter's name is Baltus. And I don't know, I guess he lived in Italy much of his life. And the paintings are very mysterious. They're very much influenced by early Italian painting. Pattern. Emmanuel, what do you think of Baltus?
No, Baltus, yeah, I'm not truly impressed. It's that branch of Italian painting which will degenerate into lack of form, excessive romanticism. It's not my cup of tea.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm marveling that he has a black background with a black cat and a black shirt.
Yeah.
And yet he distinguishes those blacks.
He does. Yeah, this is atypical, his use of black. And I chose this one because it would not be very controversial compared to many of his other paintings. And I don't really show him a lot now because there was a big controversy at the MoMA about one of his paintings, and I don't know if they ever took it down or not, but there's still something about the composition and the light. So here's a close-up of the cat.
Oh, I'm sorry I said it was black. Look at that. There's very little black in it.
Yeah. And look at the surface of the painting. It's a feeling we would often compare them to Italian fresco paintings because of the nature of the surface of the painting. A sense of decay and fresco, the old fresco paintings peeling. And I had a friend who it was really influenced by Baltus even more than I was. But we all talked about it and looked at it. Okay, so this is another, this guy's in London. I have showed his work before. And you can see the Baltus influence in a lot of his paintings. Not this one, maybe, but his name is Nicholas Granger Taylor. He's living in London. I followed him on Instagram, and he followed me back.
Mm.
And I recommend looking up his work because just beautiful light, a lot of still life paintings, and a lot of figure paintings. He does commissioned portraits. He's a lot younger than I thought. I thought he was like really, really old. But so you've got the name and the email. I hope you'll look him up and let me know what you think. And another one, a couple that I've talked about. Well, I talked quite a bit about Fairfield Porter. And look, you know, if you want to paint flowers, great, but you got to find something that you could do that makes it more than what we've seen him many, many times. And I think that he does that here. And it's mostly the color, the feeling of light coming from the color, coming from the paint itself, and a painterly quality that he was superb at. Fairfield Porter.
I like the free-flowing way he moves those colors in there with the flowers. It's very,
Yeah.
very nice.
Yeah, you let the brush do the work, and it's the talking. Let the brush talk. And we don't care. I don't want to try to figure out what the red thing is down there or anything. It's just the beauty of the image itself. Okay, here is Wolf Kahn, and I have talked about him. He mostly worked in pastel, I think, and just very simplified but very elegant and luminous landscapes, mostly landscape painting or pastel painting. Wolf Kahn, K-A-H-N. I believe he passed away recently. He was like 100. But we all love landscape painting. What about this? Who likes it as a painting, a landscape painting?
I do.
I like it.
All right.
I
Okay.
do. I like it.
All right.
I
Well, let me-
especially like the sky and the
Yeah.
reflection in the
Yeah.
water. Those two, are those people on top of that hill?
I don't know. I mean, it could, to me, it's colors, shape, and atmosphere.
Yeah.
And now that everyone said that they like it, I'm going to expect to see it in this coming term. Similar. Okay. And now I know by now you all love Morandi, right?
Yes,
Andrew does.
I do.
I don't think I ever saw this watercolor before. I just
No,
think-
I haven't.
Yeah, so elegant. The negative shapes is a big part of Morandi. There's a rhythm and a music, especially if you go back and listen to Glenn Gould. I used to listen to Glenn Gould, that very album, while studying Morandi, looking at his work. And I could see, to me, there was a strong relationship between the forms of the music and the forms of these little bottles and jars that he kept painting, especially studying the negative space. And I've talked before. Go ahead. Somebody had a comment? Okay, I want to show you again. I had never seen this watercolor before the other night by Robert Wilbert from Wayne State. Great painter who influenced me of any instructor I had. He influenced me more than anyone. And why? Well, it's form more than anything. He mostly painted the figure, big oil paintings, very powerful. But he was the one that talked about Morandi when I was in his class at Wayne State. I never heard of Morandi, but then I started looking at him and I thought, Yeah, it's about how you put a picture together and find the musicality of the form, the color, and all the other elements of form. Now, here is a similar feeling watercolor, especially to the Morandi we looked at, but this is a friend of mine, Brian Lynch from Iowa. You could follow him on Instagram. I really like his work. The simplicity, the shape, the oblique approach to the composition of figure, and the simplicity.
Do you think that they are also very abstract in a way, the last few that you have shown?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way to put it. And that means when we say the word abstract in this context, it means an interest in the form of the painting, how it's all pieced together, and so much of modernism has been about a shallow pictorial space and how the shapes pattern themselves on the surface of the canvas or the paper, as opposed to the illusionistic space of the traditional art.
Say that again.
But an emphasis in 20th century painting, not entirely, but a big emphasis was on the flatness of the picture plane.
Mm-hmm.
And we're kind of rejecting the idea that painting is an illusion of something else, and emphasizing the idea of a painting as an object, a plane, it's a rectangle that's flat, and you arrange things on that physical plane.
Mm-hmm.
May I, if I may add to that, it's also an influence from Japanese block paint, woodblock paintings, the ukiyo-e. This particular drawing reminds me very much of the progressive ones, the guys that started in the 20s, 1910, 1920s. They took the ukiyo-e in this direction, and they had simplified the feminine form in ways which are reminiscent in this work. I think it's the influence is pretty obvious if you look at in an album with Japanese woodblock paints from the say 40s or 50s. The guys that have followed Utamaro, for instance, Utamaro he was hugely successful in the early 19th century. And after that, everybody kind of got tired of all the flowery things on the kimonos, and they went into this kind of flat simplification.
Yeah, and Brian, I remember him talking, well, we would all talk about it, but he had a definite interest in Japanese woodblocks. He wasn't in the printmaking department. This is a drawing with a watercolor ink wash. But he's very much aware of exactly what you're talking about, Emmanuel. And I've tried to get him to come to Art Idea, but with no luck yet. But and also, I think Art Deco was showing this kind of influence, especially in America in the 20s and 30s. So, all right, let's jump back now to none other than, you won't believe who carved this.
Michelangelo.
Later in his life, he was famous. It's a Pieta,
Mm-hmm.
and his first Pieta, everyone knows. It's in the Vatican. I don't know, it's not in the Vatican, but it's Michelangelo's Pieta from late in his life. I should have shown a comparison, but you know his famous Pieta, right?
Right.
Polished, highly polished, very realistic when he was in his 20s. And now he's probably about 90. And he carves this, it just feels different at that period in life. And to me, it's much more powerful and moving than the first one. So it's called the what's it called? Pieta Rondinini from 1564, and I've always loved this sculpture.
Yeah, it's glorious.
Yeah.
the way he has the figure of Christ in the front, just, dragging down,
Yeah,
he
yeah,
captures that feeling.
yeah. And a curve, there's a swoop of the form of the marble. Okay, so now we're going to jump back ahead again to Matisse. And, Matisse did a fair amount of sculpture. And this has a similar feeling to me. That's how I thought of it, to this, in the form of the figure. And I don't know if this is bronze or not, or I should ask Mary. Maybe she'll know. But it's just called Standing Nude. And he did they were small sculptures. This is a reclining nude by Matisse in bronze. And then I found this very interesting little drawing that he did of his sculpture. See it?
Mhm.
Wow.
Very simple contour line drawing. I love it.
Do you think he did the drawing first or the statue first?
I don't know. I don't know. Somehow I'm thinking the sculpture first. And then he drew it, but I couldn't tell you. I don't know. He did not sign it. And one more picture of him working on his sculpture. Interesting. Okay, just a few more here, but I've shown you some painting, some sculpture, again, emphasizing the kind of art that influenced me a lot. But I've also been really interested in architecture as an art form, starting with
Stonehenge.
and it continues to amaze me. Basically how they did it, right? When they did it, it was Stonehenge was about 5,000 years ago, okay? And I've read a fair amount about it. They're explaining. I don't think the aliens did it, okay? But
Maybe.
they got these rocks from hundreds of miles away, some of them. And they weigh hundreds and hundreds of tons. How did they do it? This is the Stone Age. They didn't have saws or anything like that. How did they quarry these rocks and transport them when there are no roads, right? There were hills and valleys and forests. How did they get them there?
When I was at Stonehenge, they suggested that they floated them in the river. But then my question would be, how do you get it from the riverbank up to here?
Well, yeah, there are ideas like that. I don't remember there being a river very close by. I was
No,
there.
there wasn't that I saw.
Did the river really go right from the quarries conveniently to where they wanted to build this? So there are people that have lots of crazy ideas, and I just simply don't know. However, also I've always been intrigued by the Great Pyramids, and there's something wrong here. But the date I got this for this pyramid, the Cheops pyramid, was 4,600 years old. So it's 1,600 years older than Stonehenge. I thought Stonehenge would have been much older. So I'm going to just have to do, must have gotten something wrong, and I did look closely. However, same questions. I mean, we still don't know why they did it. We sure don't know how they did it. And it was all covered with white marble. You've probably read that. And they just, at some point later in history, they decided they wanted that marble for something else, and they stripped it off. These took a lot of it. It was a burial chamber, so I guess there was a purpose in that sense, but it's pretty elaborate. I mean, again, the Nile River wasn't even that close to where they were, and the rocks were, again, they were hundreds of miles away, and there are thousands of these rocks in these pyramids.
And they're
They
huge
say
and very heavy.
They're very heavy, yeah.
They say that you can see the pyramids from outer space.
Yeah. Again, it's just one of those things that just, it has a lot to, wondering about things like this is why I'm still an artist.
You can imagine the other 6 wonders of the world: the Colossus of Rhodes, the Hanging Gardens of the Semiramida and the other states. So
Yeah.
this is the only one left.
Yeah, there are other amazing feats that people accomplished before they even had power tools of any type. It's just incredible. I do a special one on that sometime. But still, I'm amazed by a lot of modern architecture, and everyone will recognize this as what?
Guggenheim.
Yeah, it's the Guggenheim.
That was a Jeopardy question the other night.
Oh, a Jeopardy question. And I always loved Frank Lloyd Wright. I don't like a lot of, and Andrew and I have talked about this a lot. We talk about it in the class on Wednesday night, but brutalism, I guess, is the term for a lot of minimalists. I love certain forms of minimalism, but we just see a lot of ugly buildings around us now. And there are a lot, I believe, different reasons for that. But I just think that what he did here, the spiral, has anyone ever been there? You walk around the spiral and look at the paintings on the wall, all the way up to the top and then back down. I think it's just a very intriguing building. And then there's another Guggenheim in Bilbao, Spain, by
Mhm.
Frank Gehry.
Yes,
I don't know
Yes.
about.
it's beautiful. And I
Beautiful.
especially like the arachnoid in front of it.
Over to
what?
the front.
The arachnoid, the what do you call it?
Spider.
Yeah, Louise Bourgeois is the sculptor that did that.
Yeah.
It's famous for those. Yeah, I don't know. I would have to go there, I guess. Anyone have you been there, Raina?
Yes. It's beautiful. It's
Where is this?
it's very intricate too, as you were saying, inside, you know.
Well, look how it kind of matches the back, the mountains, like it's part of the landscape.
It does, yeah.
Mhm.
And someone had a question. Where is it?
Yeah, where is that?
It's
in
in
Spain.
northern Spain. Yeah.
Frank Gehry was a very influential postmodern architect. And my art dealer at the time, David Klein, had a little table and chair that Frank Gehry did. That he bought somewhere, and he said, when the time comes, he'll pay for his kids' college education. And there are a lot of questions I have about postmodernism, but we'll talk about it in class. And finally, just two more. The very first known drawing of Mickey Mouse by Walt Disney. And if you ever looked at the early Disney cartoons, they're pretty interesting.
Mhm.
They're kind of different feel. I like them. And finally, it's called appropriately enough, this is called Farewell at Night.
Oh, so Art Deco.
Yeah. Georges Barbier, Farewell at Night. And you may recall, I'm into Art Deco now, the period of Art Deco for the paintings I've been doing. And in particular, watching the movies from that period. And that's it.